Hey guys, welcome to the CO visit. Colin here once again, and of course, you already know my trusty coffee. A happy Monday to everybody. Hope your beginning of the week is going well so far, and just hope everyone's doing well out there in general. So what I want to talk about today is tell you guys a little story. Yep, story time, and just a little experience I had. And if you look at the title of this, and you're wondering what the heck the great MUK theocratic MUK scandal was. And I hope everyone out there knows. I told this story already, but it was part of the videos that I eliminated before, and so I kind of have to retell the story just because maybe you forgot or you're new to the channel and haven't heard this before or just need a refresher. But these are real things. These are the type of things that really happen in the congregations that were just so ridiculous and so petty. And it's amazing that they put so much importance on something like this and not on these bigger things that were going on, like people and children getting abused in the congregations. No, they were too busy handling Brother Zafke and his mucklucks. Well, what happened was, and I hope all of you know what that is. I'm sure pretty much everybody on this channel, because I've seen pretty much the demographics of who's watching this channel and the age group. So I'm pretty sure everybody knows what mucklucks are. But if you don't, just in case, it's a traditional type of footwear that was made popular by the Eskimos and the native peoples up in Alaska and the Inuit Islands and all of that. So they're just, these really warm type of footwear, boots that go up to your knee. You lace them up, and they have designs on them, and they're made of leather, and they're literally, you can be out in any temperature with those, and they will keep your feet warm. It's just absolutely amazing, and they just look cool. Okay, I've always loved that type of like the Native American type dress and garb and all of that stuff. And I was always very attracted to that. And of course, growing up in northern Minnesota, we had lots of exposure to native peoples and the styles and the paintings and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, when I was growing up, back in my congregation, we had a big congregation. I think there was maybe around 150 publishers in the congregation at that time, which is a thing of the past. Publishers, that's nothing anymore. Kids growing up now, you'll be like, publishers, what is that? Well, back when kids, you had to count time. Yeah. And there was a limit. There was a requirement, not a limit, a requirement that you had to have so many hours per month to be in good standing with Jehovah and be able to be saved and not just nailing up your two boards on the ark. Your two boards for the day. No, that's good enough for me. No, you had to get at least 10 hours in the ministry every month, and you had to report that on a little slip. And so anyway, so it was really, really hard because we had lots of elders. We had like 10 or 12 elders. There were lots of ministerial servants. So you were taught your whole life as a brother that you needed to reach out. You need to reach out, brother. You gotta be reaching out for more privileges. Reach out in the congregation. Are you reaching out? That's my condescending elder voice, okay? And I like to put my glasses down. Are you reaching out, brother? Haven't seen you reaching out. Are you visible? So anyway, when you finally decided to start reaching out because you were told that's what you're supposed to do, that's when the bullshit started, and big time. Because first of all, you're told that you need to reach out, and then when you start reaching out, they tell you shouldn't be reaching out because you don't want to be ambitious. You're not supposed to want privileges. You're not supposed to want to be this or want to be that. It's supposed to be God's Spirit that's drawing you. Well, how are they supposed to know if you don't tell them so that they can be watching you? And see, since we had so many people, they let you know that they were going to be on your case. They were going to be on your case, and they were going to be testing your mettle just to see how much you could take before snapping. And it was just this psychological game that was just unbelievable. And so when I started, reaching out, that was the first thing, that you're not supposed to be reaching out. And it's just like, you're sitting here going, well, what the heck am I supposed to do then? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, am I supposed to? It's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I started reaching out, and this was when I was in between like 19 and 20 years old. I had a pretty tumultuous year during that time, a little bit more than that as well, because every single thing I did was under the microscope. And so when I started, getting used a little bit more in the congregation, I still wasn't named as a servant, but I bought a pair of MUK LUKS, and I also had a pair of black leather cowboy boots, and I liked using my cowboy boots with my suit, because you had to use at the Kingdom Hall. You had to have a suit coat, whether you were on the stage or not. You got to the Kingdom Hall, and if you were a brother, even if you weren't on the stage and you weren't wearing a suit coat, it's like, forget it. You were never going to. They were never going to even look at you if you weren't wearing a suit coat. So I would wear the cowboy boots, but particularly, I grew up in northern Minnesota, okay? I think probably next to what? Like the Yukon and Alaska. It's the coldest state in the United States, has horrible winters, freezing cold, and you had to go out and preach in that shit. You had to go out trudging, park your car, go trudging down these streets, up people's rural driveways, and it was just, so of course I wanted to be a little different. I wanted to be a little creative in my stupid, naive mind. You see, I just didn't seem to get it, guys. I was kind of hard-headed. And that's what the brothers hated, because I was always trying to be creative and different and stand out. So I bought myself, just like in the thumbnail that you saw, exactly like those MUK LUKS in the thumbnail. And so I would wear my MUK LUKS out in service. And I would wear my MUK LUKS while I was directing the service meeting, making the car groups. Remember that? Yeah, that was a thing. And so, of course, with the MUK LUKS, you're supposed to wear your pants tucked inside of the MUK LUKS, and then you lace them up, and it keeps your legs and your calves and all of that area dry, and it keeps your dress pants dry, because there's nothing worse than having your dress pants all wet when you're getting out in and out of a car, or you go into a McDonald's or wherever, and you start thawing out, and everything's soaking wet. And so I had the MUK LUKS. Well, it didn't take long. It took all of about 5 minutes the first time I wore those, and these brothers who were assigned to my case just started having a fit about those MUK LUKS. First of all, the thing was, only women wear MUK LUKS. That's a woman's attire, which was completely ridiculous and false. MUK LUKS are worn by men and women, okay? It's just that up until then, mostly you would see sisters with MUK LUKS. And of course, there was no issue about tucking in or not tucking in pants or anything like that, because sisters couldn't wear pants. Yeah, you weren't allowed to, especially out in service. So they were wearing dresses, so that wasn't a thing. But if you were a man, you tuck your pants inside the MUK LUKS. And they just had a fit about that. And then once they kind of calmed down about that, but it was like, oh, but you need to, why don't you just, brother, can't you just put your pants on the outside? It's like, no, you can't. That defeats the whole purpose, And so then it was like, well, just have your pants out while you're directing the giving the car groups and doing the little service meeting there, the ministry meeting. That's actually what happened. And you know what? I wouldn't do it. And then it became an issue that I was being kind of rebellious. I wasn't following direction. And this was just, it was like, brother, it was pissing me off so bad. And it was like, why, brothers, why are you making such a big deal out of this? Jehovah's Witnesses all over the United States wear MUK LUKS. And also, along with that, I was starting to get guff about they did not want me wearing cowboy boots with my suit on the stage. And so it was like, well, and then their reasoning was, because they had no biblical backing they could give for any of this. absolutely no biblical backing. And then what they told me was, well, yeah, but where there's native peoples, where it's normal for them, they can wear those, or in Alaska, or down in Texas, yes, the brothers wear cowboy boots, but that's in Texas. And it's like, well, why is that acceptable in Texas and it's not in Minnesota? I mean, what's the difference? And I wasn't the only brother that ever wore cowboy boots, but they just latched onto me, and it was like this was tearing apart the theocratic fabric of the congregation. I mean, this became literally where it was like dividing people, because there were some people that were just kind of like, well, you should just do what they say, and others that were just like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They're mucklucks, So eventually, guys, this went all the way to the circuit overseer. The circuit overseer had to settle the issue. So when the circuit overseer came around, and I can't remember at that time who it was, which circuit overseer it was. I'm trying to think of who. I can't for the life of me remember which circuit overseer we had. I remember it was a man, obviously, but I can't remember if he was a single brother. I want to say that he wasn't married. But anyway, eventually, what it just came down to was he just said, brother, it's not worth, affecting the Holy Spirit in the congregation. You're affecting the peace in the congregation. Just let it go. Just stop wearing them. Just wear regular boots or whatever. Or wear your damn pants on the outside like they're telling you to. So I just stopped wearing them. I was like, no, I wasn't going to give in. So I just stopped wearing them. Just wore regular boots. Like, what's the big fucking difference, right? So that became, and you know what? When you look at that kind of stuff, guys, and you think about that, you think about beards, you think about all these little pharisaical, little nitpicking rules that the brothers were so just on you about. And you know what? If you did that, if I would have kept doing that, I would not have had any privileges in the congregation. I would have never been able to be a ministerial servant. And then later on, maybe an elder. It wouldn't have happened because I was rebellious. I wasn't taking direction. I wasn't being humble enough. And you look at that, and what is enough to piss a person off is when you see how, just like Jesus talked about with the Pharisees, gulping down, straining out the gnat and gulping down the camel. They were so worried about a fly or a gnat getting into their chalice of wine, and yet they were swallowing down a whole camel. That's what the witnesses, the elders, were doing as well. They were so worried about little stuff like that, just to have their finger on you, on the back of your neck, and have you subjugated and have you under their power. But at the same time, they were turning a blind eye, and they were covering up and not reporting to the authorities weighty issues like child sex abuse. They were not reporting pedophiles, rapists, wife beaters, when there was domestic violence. That was getting swept under the rug. But Brother Zafke, you need to stop wearing mucklucks because Jehovah's Spirit is getting, you're grieving Jehovah's Spirit in the congregation. You're upsetting the peace of the congregation. But they weren't upset by child abusers. That's the hypocrisy of the Jehovah's Witness religion, my friends. And it's still happening to this day. But thank goodness, all of that was laid bare at the Australian Royal Commission. And if anybody's out there, any active Jehovah's Witnesses out there in the shadows, or PMOs up there in the rafters, who are secretly watching this channel, you need, if there's anything you do in this life on your bucket list, you have to watch the Australian Royal Commission. That is where you'll see the governing body members under oath and the branch members saying the most bald-faced lies, and you will know that they're lies. How they talk about organizational procedures, disfellowshipping, how they handle cases of abuse, how the branches are set up. Absolute lies. And the Watchtower members, these Watchtower governing body members, have this tendency time and time and time again, when they're under oath, when the shit hits the fan, and they're on a stand at a court, they backpedal every single time about organizational procedures and Jehovah's Witness doctrines. Instead of standing up for supposedly what they believe in, even if it means going to jail, they're not going to jail. Hell no. They're not going to jail. They will lie, they will backpedal, they will downplay it every single time. Because what's at stake? The Benjamins, baby. When money's at stake, Watchtower will kowtow to the superior authorities and do whatever they have to do so they don't lose their tax-free status and they don't lose their status as a religion. Because I hate to say it, guys, just like I said in my video about Rutherford's letter to Hitler, they hit the nail right on the head. It is an organization that is working against the interests of the state under the guise of religious activity. That's all it ever has been. And you know what? They're geniuses. Rutherford was a genius. Corporatizing and setting up the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and the way he made it today, absolute genius, because till this day, he's still fooling everybody. A real estate company hidden under the guise of a religion. And they can buy and sell as they please without paying 1 cent of taxes to any government, because they have everybody fooled that they're a religion. So anyway, hope you like the story. That's what happened. So that was one of my many experiences. I kind of grouped 2 into 1 there with the MUK LUKS and the cowboy boots, because that pretty much happened within the same year. The mustache was another one, but I'll save that. So, yeah, Jehovah is a difficult God to understand, why he was so upset about one 19-year-old brother in northern Minnesota wearing MUK LUKS. It was just, messing up his entire divine plan. So, I don't know, guys. You have to ask yourselves a lot of questions when you hear these things, because it's true. This happens. So anyway, thanks for watching the CO visit, and I appreciate all of your views. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's not going to cost you anything. So see you in the next one.